You've been learning English wrong. Here's the simple truth fluent speakers won't tell you. Welcome to LMJ English, where stories speak louder than lessons. If you love learning English through meaningful, emotional, and real-life stories, you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new story that could change the way you learn English forever. Daily practice builds fluency. Fluency is not something you find. It's something you grow, not with magic and not overnight, but with quiet, steady effort that feels small today and powerful tomorrow. Learning English is a bit like planting a tree in the middle of an empty field. On the first day, you gently press a seed into the soil. It looks so tiny, so ordinary. You wonder if it will really grow. But you return the next day. You water it. You make sure it gets sunlight. Still, nothing visible happens. But underground, something incredible is beginning. When I started learning English, I used to believe fluent speakers had a secret, that maybe they were born with a gift I didn't have. I thought, they're just good at languages. I'm not. But one day, an old teacher leaned in and said softly, "Fluency is not a talent. It's a habit." That one sentence rewrote everything I believed about learning. It was like someone handed me a key I'd been searching for, a key that opened the door to consistency. So I changed. I stopped expecting fluency to arrive like a storm. Instead, I welcomed it like the sunrise, slow, quiet, dependable. I began practicing just a little each day. 5 minutes of speaking to myself in the mirror. 10 minutes of listening to a story before bed. A short conversation with a classmate in the hallway. And you know what? At first, it still felt like nothing. But something was happening. My mind started to warm up to the rhythm of English. My mouth didn't freeze when I spoke. I stopped second-guessing every word. And then one day, without warning, I realized I had just told a full story in English. Without stopping, without fear. I had grown my tree. That's the quiet power of daily practice. It doesn't shout. It doesn't rush. It doesn't show results in a single day. But it changes you. It trains your brain to think in English. It builds your confidence like strong roots beneath the surface. And most importantly, it shows you something no one else can give you, belief in your own ability. So if you're tired, if you feel like you're not improving, remember this, your seed is still there. Keep watering it. Keep showing up. One day, that small effort will rise into something strong, beautiful, and unshakably fluent. Mistakes are a natural part of learning. If there's one thing that holds people back from becoming fluent, it's the fear of making mistakes. That little voice in your head that whispers, "What if I say it wrong? What if they laugh? What if I sound stupid?" And so, you stay quiet. You nod instead of speaking. You dream in English, but you don't dare let the words leave your mouth. I've seen it in so many students, and once upon a time, I saw it in myself. There was a girl in one of my classes who barely spoke. Her notebook was full. Her grammar tests were perfect, but she never raised her hand. One day, I asked her why. Her eyes filled with tears, and she said, "I'm scared they'll laugh at me if I say the wrong word." My heart broke for her, not because she was wrong, but because she didn't yet understand a truth every fluent speaker knows. Mistakes are not the enemy. They are the teachers. So I told her a story. I told her about the first time I tried to speak English in front of a group. I meant to say, "I'm excited," but I accidentally said something embarrassing. Everyone laughed. My face turned red. I wanted to disappear. But then, something unexpected happened. Someone corrected me. I smiled. I tried again. And after that, I never made the same mistake. That moment became a turning point. Not because I was perfect, but because I dared to be imperfect out loud. From that day on, the girl began to speak. Her voice trembled. Her words weren't always right. But she kept going. And every mistake was like a stepping stone, helping her cross the river of fear and reach the land of confidence. Each wrong word taught her how to find the right one. Each awkward pause taught her to breathe and keep going. You see, every fluent speaker you admire, they were once just like you. They stumbled. They forgot words. They mixed up tenses. But they didn't stop. And that's why they became fluent. So if you're afraid of making mistakes, I invite you to change the way you see them. Mistakes are proof that you're trying. They are signs that you're learning something new. And every time you make one, you're one step closer to fluency. Speak boldly. Be proud of your effort. Let your mistakes be loud, because they are the sound of your future self learning to speak clearly, confidently, and without fear. Fluency means clear communication, not speed. There's a belief that quietly slips into the minds of many English learners. The idea that the faster you speak, the better you are. That fluency is a race. That real English flows like a machine gun. Fast, non-stop, breathless. But let me tell you something few people say out loud. Fluency is not about speed. It's about connection. It's about speaking in a way that lets people feel you, not just hear you. I once taught a boy named Min, who was so eager to prove he was fluent that he practiced speaking as quickly as possible. He would race through his sentences like a sprinter chasing a gold medal. But here's what happened. His classmates couldn't follow him. He would finish a full story, and no one could respond because no one had understood. He looked frustrated. "Why is no one listening to me?" he asked one day. And I gently answered, "Because they're trying to catch your words, but your words are running too fast." That moment shifted something in him. I asked Min to do a small exercise. I gave him a sentence. "My name is Min, and I love reading stories." I told him to say it slowly, clearly, with meaning. At first, he was hesitant. It felt strange to slow down. But the moment he did, the room leaned in. His classmates smiled. They nodded. And Min saw something he hadn't seen before. When you slow down, people actually listen. Fluency is not a sprint. It's a conversation. Speaking quickly might show that you know words, but speaking clearly shows that you understand people. And when you understand people, you speak in a way that welcomes them in. You pause when they need time. You repeat if they didn't catch your meaning. You use simple, honest language, not because you don't know big words, but because you care more about being understood than being impressive. I remember watching a TED Talk where the speaker wasn't fast at all, but she spoke with such clarity, such feeling, that I hung on to every word. She wasn't rushing. She was sharing. And that's the essence of fluency. Not how fast you can speak, but how deeply you can connect. So next time you feel pressure to speak like a native, take a deep breath. You don't need to rush your words to prove your worth. You just need to speak with heart, with thought, and with care. Because when your words are clear, your message is powerful. And that is what real fluency sounds like. Listening improves speaking. Before you ever spoke your first word in your native language, you were already learning just by listening. You listened to your parents' voices, the rhythm of lullabies, the rising and falling melody of everyday speech. You absorbed sounds long before you could form them. That's how every child learns to speak. And that's exactly how you can grow fluent in English too. Listening isn't passive. It's powerful. It's like watering the roots of your speaking skills, roots that may not be visible, but are absolutely essential. When you listen with intention, your brain is busy making connections. It's collecting the sound of words, the melody of sentences, the way one word flows into the next. These small, almost invisible moments of listening begin to build something much larger than you can see. I had a student named Anne who was painfully shy. In class, she almost never spoke. But what I didn't know was that outside of school, she was listening all the time. She listened to podcasts while walking to school. She listened to English songs while doing her homework. She even listened to bedtime stories in English as she drifted off to sleep. One day, out of nowhere, she volunteered to read aloud in class. Everyone was stunned. Her voice was clear, calm, and beautifully pronounced. She didn't learn that from grammar books. She learned it from listening. When you listen to stories, you learn the natural rhythm of speech. You hear where emotions live inside words. When you listen to songs, you pick up on phrasing, stress, and tone without even realizing it. Conversations, even ones you don't fully understand, help you catch common expressions, idioms, and how real people actually speak. I remember doing an experiment when I was still learning English. For 30 days, I promised myself I would listen to at least one English story or podcast every day. Some days I understood almost nothing. Other days, I caught a few words. But I kept going. And something amazing happened. On day 21, I realized I was thinking in English while walking through the market. By day 30, I found myself repeating entire phrases in my mind and later using them in real conversations. That's the magic of listening. It creates invisible threads in your brain, threads that eventually become full sentences, confident thoughts, and flowing conversations. It trains your ear to recognize correct pronunciation. It teaches you not just what to say, but how to say it. Your mouth begins to follow your ears. So if you feel stuck, unsure of where to start, begin by listening. Let English become the sound of your world, like a radio always playing softly in the background of your life. Listen when you cook, when you walk, when you relax. Repeat what you hear. Copy the tone. Whisper the words. Let them sink in, because the more you listen, the more natural speaking will become. One day, without warning, the words you've been hearing will flow from your mouth, and you'll realize fluency has already begun. Think in English, don't translate. One of the biggest breakthroughs in learning English doesn't come from a textbook. It comes from a quiet shift inside your mind. The moment you stop translating and start thinking in English. It may sound simple, but this single change can unlock the fluency you've been chasing for years. Many learners don't realize they're doing it. They listen to a question in English, translate it into their native language, think of an answer, and then translate it back to English again. It's exhausting. It's slow. It turns speaking into a math problem instead of a conversation. I know, because I did the same thing. Back when I was still learning, I used to carry around invisible translation blocks in my head. Someone would ask me a basic question like, "What did you do today?" And my brain would freeze. Not because I didn't understand, but because I was busy translating every word, one by one. I felt like I was walking through thick mud just to answer a simple sentence. Then I met a student named Hui who changed my perspective. He wasn't the best at grammar. He didn't know many advanced words. But he was fluent. Why? Because he didn't translate. He thought in English. He spoke slowly, but naturally. When I asked him how he did it, he said, "I started by describing the world around me in English, even when I was alone." That idea lit a fire in me. So I began practicing. When I woke up, I told myself in English, "It's a beautiful morning." When I looked in the mirror, I'd say, "I feel tired today, but let's go." I spoke in my mind while walking, cooking, even brushing my teeth. At first, it felt strange. But over time, it became second nature. I stopped translating and started flowing. Thinking in English is like switching the operating system of your brain. It doesn't require perfect grammar. It doesn't mean you'll never get stuck. But it means your brain starts building direct pathways to fluency. Words come faster. Sentences feel smoother. Your ideas are no longer stuck behind a wall of translation. They're free. It's okay if you don't know every word. If you can't say refrigerator, say cold food box. If you forget schedule, say my plan today. The goal is not perfection. The goal is expression. Fluency doesn't come from knowing every word. It comes from using the words you do know to say what matters. So next time you're walking down the street, try it. Describe what you see in English. Tell yourself what you're doing. Think about what you want to eat. Speak to yourself without judgment. The more you think in English, the more fluent your thoughts become, and eventually, your speech will follow. Not because you memorized more, but because you started to live the language from the inside out. Read regularly and learn actively. If speaking is the voice of a language, then reading is its soul. Inside every sentence, every line of dialogue, and every paragraph lies a secret map, one that leads not just to better vocabulary, but to deeper understanding. Reading is more than an activity. It's a form of quiet training. And when done with intention, it can transform your fluency from hesitant to natural. I remember a student named Mai who once told me, "I want to speak well, but I never know how to build a sentence." She struggled in conversation, not because she didn't know words, but because she didn't know how to arrange them. So I asked her what she read. She looked confused. "I don't read much in English," she said softly. That was our starting point. I gave her a short story, nothing too hard, just a simple children's book. She read one page each day, slowly, aloud. And after every page, I asked her to highlight a phrase she liked. Not just a word, a phrase. Something that felt natural, beautiful, or powerful. Then I asked her to write her own sentence using that phrase. At first, it was slow. She had to look things up. She made small mistakes. But week by week, her confidence grew. By the end of the month, she wasn't just reading. She was thinking like a writer. She was borrowing sentence structures and turning them into her own. And when she spoke, something had shifted. Her sentences weren't random or broken anymore. They had rhythm, clarity, and flow. All from just reading one page a day. Reading gives you more than vocabulary. It shows you how English works in real life. It teaches you the invisible rules of word order, tense, punctuation, and tone, without needing a grammar book. Every time you read a dialogue in a story or a description in a novel, your brain is quietly learning, copying, and absorbing the natural structure of the language. But reading only works if you read actively. Don't just let your eyes pass over the page. Engage with it. Underline new words. Guess meanings from context. Write them down. Use them in your next sentence. Ask yourself, how would I say this out loud? Could I use this expression in a conversation? And read what you love. Whether it's comic books, fairy tales, news articles, blogs, or mystery novels, read what excites you. Because when you enjoy the story, your brain forgets it's studying. You relax. You learn more. And every book becomes a silent teacher, patiently guiding you toward fluency, one sentence at a time. So open a book. Open your mind. And remember, every line you read is one step closer to the English speaker you're becoming. Use English in real-life situations. Learning English in a classroom gives you knowledge. But using English in real life, that's what gives you power. That's what turns memorized words into living language. And the beautiful truth is, you don't have to travel to another country or wait for a perfect opportunity. Your daily life is already full of moments waiting to be transformed into English practice. I once had a student named Gwen who had been studying English for 5 years. She knew all the grammar rules, had pages of vocabulary written in her notebook, and passed every written test with flying colors. But when it came time to speak, she froze. Her mouth stayed closed, even though her mind was full. She once said to me, "I know the words, but I can't make them come out when I need them." That's when I gave her a simple challenge. I said, every day this week, use English in one real situation. Just one. It could be with a friend, a family member, or even with yourself. But make it real. She looked nervous, but she agreed. The next day, she went to a coffee shop and ordered in English. The server looked surprised, but smiled and responded in English too. That one moment gave her a rush of confidence. The following day, she texted her best friend using only English. Then, she began speaking out loud while cooking, saying things like, "Now I'm adding the vegetables," or "I'll stir this for 5 more minutes." It seemed so small, but in just 1 week, something began to shift. Her fear started to melt. Her words began to flow. That's the magic of real-life practice. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to be long. It just has to be real. When you connect the language to your actions, your surroundings, your emotions, it becomes part of you. It moves out of your head and into your hands, your lips, your world. I once met a boy who practiced English by pretending he was a tour guide whenever he walked through his city. He'd quietly describe places in English, imagining a group of tourists listening. This is our town square. It's very old. People come here to take photos. His words weren't fancy, but they were alive. That small game, repeated daily, transformed his speaking skills more than any textbook ever could. The truth is, every moment of your day is a doorway to fluency, if you choose to walk through it. Talk to yourself in the mirror. Greet a classmate in English. Ask for directions. Make a shopping list in English. Even singing in the shower counts. These aren't just exercises, they're experiences. They train your mind to respond naturally, your mouth to move smoothly, and your confidence to grow quietly, day by day. So let go of the idea that practice only happens in lessons. Practice is everywhere. And the more you bring English into your real life, the more real your fluency will become. Because fluency isn't built on perfection, it's built on participation. And your everyday life is the perfect classroom. Have a goal and enjoy the journey. Fluency is not a destination you stumble upon one day. It's a path, a winding, sometimes bumpy, often beautiful journey. And like every meaningful journey, it becomes easier and far more enjoyable when you know why you're walking it. One of the first questions I ask my students is, why do you want to speak English? At first, the answers are simple. To get a better job, to pass an exam, to travel. But the deeper I dig, the more heartfelt the answers become. So I can talk to my grandmother who lives in Canada. Because I want to study music abroad. So I can watch movies without subtitles and understand every word. That's when I smile. Because that quiet, personal reason is what fuels real progress. I once had a student named Diane who dreamed of becoming a flight attendant. She imagined herself smiling in a crisp uniform, greeting passengers from all over the world. But there was one problem. She was terrified of speaking English. Every time she tried, her hands shook. Her words disappeared. But her dream? That stayed strong. So we made a plan. I told her, let your dream pull you forward. Practice with that vision in mind. And she did. She started small, watching airport interviews on YouTube, listening to pilot announcements, practicing travel phrases in front of the mirror. One day, she brought a toy microphone to class and practiced welcoming passengers as if she were on a real plane. We all clapped. And slowly, the fear faded. It was replaced by joy. Because now, her English had purpose. Having a goal gives you direction. But enjoying the journey? That gives you momentum. I've seen learners fall in love with English just by changing how they learn it. One student improved by watching romantic comedies every night. Another by singing their heart out to pop songs during lunch breaks. Another by writing short poems in a notebook only they could see. The more fun you have, the longer you'll stay on the path. Because fluency takes time, it needs patience. But when you fill your journey with things you love, the process stops feeling like a chore. It becomes a passion, a part of your life that brings light, not stress. So ask yourself now, why do I want to be fluent? What do I love that English can give me more of? Write it down. Hold it close. Let it remind you, on the hard days, that you're not just learning a language. You're building a bridge to the life you want. And along that bridge, don't forget to look around. Smile at your progress. Laugh at your mistakes. Celebrate the small victories. Because you are not just moving toward fluency. You're growing through it. And that growth? That's the most beautiful part of the journey. Practice with others. Language is connection. It's not meant to live only in textbooks, notes, or silent thoughts. It was born to be shared, word by word, sentence by sentence, with real people. That's why one of the most powerful things you can do on your journey to fluency is to practice with others. I remember two students, Nam and Hong, who joined my class in the same week. At first, they barely spoke. They were shy, unsure, afraid of saying something wrong. But something changed when they decided to become English partners. Every day after class, they would stay for 10 extra minutes, just to talk. Not about grammar, not about school, just life. What did you eat today? Did you see that football match? What's your dream job? The conversations were simple, but they were real. At first, they stumbled. They laughed at their own mistakes. But they helped each other. They learned together. And after a few weeks, their confidence began to bloom. One day, they gave a joint presentation in front of the class, without notes, without hesitation. Everyone clapped, not just for their English, but for their courage. That courage came from daily connection. Speaking with others gives you more than practice. It gives you rhythm, response, and real emotion. You learn how people react. You get used to questions, interruptions, laughter, and even silence. All the little things that make conversations human. And those little things? They're what turn classroom English into living English. If you have a friend who's also learning, make a deal. Speak in English for 5 minutes a day. If you don't have a partner, join an English club, an online language exchange, or even a community group that practices together. And if none of that is possible, you can still practice out loud by recording yourself and pretending you're talking to someone else. One of my students used to hold interviews with herself in the mirror. She would ask a question, then switch sides and answer. It was funny at first, but it worked. It gave her the chance to hear herself speak, correct herself, and grow more comfortable. The point is, don't walk this journey alone. Language grows in community. And the more you surround yourself with conversation, even imperfect, messy, beginner-level conversation, the faster you'll improve. You'll build vocabulary, but more importantly, you'll build courage. So reach out. Find a partner. Share your progress. Laugh at your mistakes together. Because fluency isn't just about speaking. It's about connecting. And when you connect with others, English becomes more than a subject. It becomes a shared adventure. Celebrate progress and stay positive. Fluency isn't a straight road. It's a winding path filled with tiny steps, quiet victories, and unexpected challenges. Some days, you'll feel like you're flying. Other days, you might feel stuck in the same place. But no matter where you are, there's one secret that will carry you forward. Celebrate your progress and protect your positivity. I once had a student named Lai who kept a small notebook in her backpack. It wasn't for vocabulary. It wasn't for grammar rules. It was her victory journal. And inside, she wrote one sentence each day about her English journey. Today, I watched a movie without subtitles. Today, I introduced myself without pausing. Today, I made 3 mistakes, but I kept talking anyway. Each page was a celebration of progress, no matter how small. At first, she said it felt silly. But over time, that journal became her source of power. On the days she felt like quitting, she would flip back and read her own words, proof that she was growing, even if she couldn't always feel it. That tiny habit gave her something no textbook could: motivation, resilience, joy. Many learners make the mistake of waiting to celebrate until they're fluent. But fluency is not a finish line. It's a journey that never truly ends. And if you only celebrate the destination, you miss the beauty of the road. Every new word you learn, every conversation you attempt, every sentence you speak out loud when you're scared, that's a victory. Staying positive doesn't mean ignoring your mistakes. It means choosing to see them as part of the process. It means smiling after saying the wrong word, laughing at a forgotten phrase, and saying, "I'll try again." Because every time you rise after falling, your confidence grows stronger than before. I remember a student who used to beat himself up for every little error. "I'll never get it right," he'd say. But then we made a deal. Every time he noticed a mistake, he had to find one thing he did well in the same sentence. It changed everything. Instead of saying, "I forgot the word," he'd say, "But I used good grammar." Instead of "I was slow," he'd say, "But I didn't give up." Slowly, his self-talk became kinder. And so did his fluency. Your mindset is just as important as your practice. A joyful learner becomes a powerful speaker. A confident heart produces a confident voice. So clap for yourself. Smile at your growth. Treat each new sentence like a stone on the path you're building with your own hands. English is not just about speaking perfectly. It's about expressing yourself, It's about connecting with others. It's about discovering what you're capable of. And when you celebrate the journey, even the hard parts, you'll realize that every step forward, no matter how small, is a moment worth being proud of. If this story inspired you or helped you understand English in a new way, please like, share, and leave a comment below. Your support helps us create more valuable and meaningful stories. Don't forget to subscribe to LMJ English for more powerful learning journeys. 20 key vocabulary, repeated throughout. Fluency. The ability to speak a language smoothly, easily, and confidently without stopping too often to think. Confidence. The feeling of trust in your own ability to speak or express yourself, even if you make mistakes. Practice. The repeated use of a skill or activity to get better at it over time, especially by speaking or listening daily. Mistake. An error that happens when learning, which should be seen as a helpful step, not a failure. Progress. The small improvements you make each day that slowly lead you closer to fluency. Consistency. Doing something regularly and steadily, like practicing English every day, even if it's just a few minutes. Listening. Actively paying attention to English sounds through stories, songs, or conversations to improve your own speaking. Speaking. The act of using your voice to express ideas in English, the main goal of many language learners. Confidence. Trusting yourself to try, speak, and grow, even if you're not perfect. Communication. The exchange of thoughts or feelings in a way others can understand, which is more important than perfect grammar. Motivation. The reason you keep going, even when learning feels hard, often linked to your dreams or goals. Goal. A personal reason for learning English, like traveling, getting a job, or watching movies without subtitles. Real-life situations. Everyday moments, like ordering food, talking to friends, or texting, that help you use English naturally. Celebrate. To recognize and enjoy your success, even small ones like finishing a conversation or learning a new word. Journey. The long, meaningful process of learning a language, step by step, not just a final result. Vocabulary. The words you know and use, a key part of becoming fluent. Sentence. A group of words that express a complete thought. Learning how to build them is essential for good speaking. Positivity. Choosing to focus on growth and effort rather than failure, an important mindset for learners. A feedback. Helpful information from teachers, friends, or even yourself that shows how you can improve your English. Connection. The human purpose of language, speaking to understand others and to be understood.